We're going to call to order the meeting of the Oconee County Public Library Board of Trustees for July 27th, 2021. Our first action is an approval of the minutes from our May meeting, which Blair sent out to everyone to review. Do we have any edits or a motion to approve?
I so move.
Do you have a second? Perfect. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Perfect. The minutes are approved as submitted, Blair. We have an opportunity for public comment, which we have no one here, but did anyone submit anything?
No, I did not receive anything by phone or email either.
Perfect. We do not have any friends here to report. Do you have an update from them by chance?
Just a couple of very quick things. We did receive our first 6-month check from them. I can very happily report that they are pretty much back to pre-COVID numbers at each month. And so they have basically given us almost what we normally would get for a 6-month period. So a combination of the lobby sales in Walhalla, the Ramcat Alley, the M. Tannery and Sons, where they have a booth, and then now a weekly sale rather than a monthly sale. They've had enough business, and even also turning over some of the older books and things, the system that they have going right now with this dealer that they have. They're back pretty much to pre-COVID numbers as far as sales are concerned. So we're real happy about that. They've chosen to fund a couple of things that we'll talk about when I get to the director's report. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me right now, but I can get those and send them to you, the sales tallies for May and June from the last 2 months since our last meeting. And then they just met last Thursday. So they have, like I said, when I get to the director's report, I'll mention a couple of things. And yeah, they're actually doing really well and have got some plans to help us with some projects and things and fund some things going forward. So they're actually doing real well. I don't know when they'll be able to start back on some of their programming, like Let's Talk About It and whatever, but I know they've got plans to try to find somebody to take that over and do it. So hopefully in the near future too, they'll be back to doing some of that kind of thing, of course, depending on what happens in the next couple months, but yeah. Perfect,
thank you. We do not have any committee reports this meeting. For the chair's report, I hope everyone got to review the information Blair sent out. Summer reading does wrap up tomorrow with the celebration out at South Cove, so if anyone's able to go to that, I know it'll be a wonderful experience. And then we'll turn it over to the director's report. So back to you.
Okay. All right, well, I'll start off with that then, since you mentioned it. We had our folks needed to turn in their reading logs by last Friday in order to be counted for the prize drawings. And there's various prizes at the kid level and for adults. Tomorrow at South Cove from 11 to 1, as you mentioned, is the end of summer reading bash. We're not only going to have our own games and stuff going on out there, but every child's going to get a free book. The Humane Society is going to be out there having an adoption event, so they'll bring several adoptable dogs and a lot of information. The First Steps is going to be out there registering children for the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. And we're actually going to have DHEC out there with a COVID tent. Anybody that's there, I realize the children can't get vaccinated yet, but any adults that are there that haven't been vaccinated yet, they'll have a lot of information, and they will have vaccine out there.
Nice.
Good idea.
So they will be, and it's free admission into the park while we're there. They have to kind of turn the park over to the library, so during that time period, I don't know how long before or after, that kind of thing, but for that time period at least, they go ahead and turn the park over to us. So it'll be free admission. We'll have some light snacks. Everything's in individual packaging this year. We're not doing pizza and all that kind of stuff because of COVID, but we're going to have individual snacks, games. Like I said, every kid gets a free book, plus then they'll have these other agencies out there as well. We did register over 1,000 people this year for summer reading, so we blew past definitely last year, when it was such a train wreck. But we're really doing better than some of the previous year's numbers. And our completion rate is somewhere around 40%, which is maybe the best we've ever done, or pretty close to the best we've ever done. So not only getting people interested in just doing all the stuff and registering, but actually our completion rate, we had a phenomenal, so, I mean, we don't even compare this to last year, because last year was just a waste. I mean, we compare this to previous years, and we're loving what we're seeing. Especially considering we're still not completely 100% back yet. For us to have this good a summer reading, I can only just give Darcy the credit, she and DJ, our youth services department. Phenomenal job, everything went wonderfully. I'd hate to jinx it and we have something happen tomorrow, but that's not gonna happen. But just very proud of what they did, the numbers, and the way they counted reading this year, having people count the number of minutes they read. We are over 500,000 minutes of the total group.
Wow, that's awesome.
So, again, just all the credit to Darcy and DJ for the work that they did, and the rest of the staff for helping out. The things we did at the Walhalla Performing Arts Center were fabulous. The other programs that they did were great, well attended, and they're thrilled that it went, as well as could be expected for us coming on basically a recovery year. In addition to that, we've got a couple of other things going right now that we're trying to kind of get some, we've got a combination of things going on. We are looking at, we did the desk in Seneca. Fortunately, we had, Ms. DeBose's family give us the bulk of the money for that, and then the friends provided, the rest of it. So the Bose family gave a little over $15,000. The friends gave about $3,600 and change. New desk in Seneca. Well, now we like it so much, we're working on one for Walhalla. And so now, of course, as I know Cliff can say, but as most of you know, materials have gone up, supply chain is terrible, all that kind of thing. Plus, this is a larger desk that we're looking at in Walhalla. So, and now the one in Seneca, because of the way the funding worked out, we never had to take anything out of this gift money that we've had before. We are planning on taking some of the desk, the funding for the desk out of that Nettles fund. So, since you all have oversight over any of our gift money, I'll let you know about that. Right now, we're looking at about $26,000, because again, it is a bigger desk. But this is where the friends come in again. At their meeting on Thursday, I did a little presentation to them, told them kind of some of the things that we were working on and projects that we'd like help with. They've agreed to fund $10,000 at the desk.
Wow.
So that's gonna help me stretch that Nettles money even further. Another thing that we're working on right now, and I don't have a real full estimate on this yet, it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 15,000. We are trying to get a complete reorganization of the office suite in Walhalla. Since Walhalla is the headquarters library, and a lot of the staff that does things for the whole system, like our cataloger and our acquisitions people and grant services, all that kind of thing, work in that same big office space in Walhalla. We want to try to get new cube walls for them. We've been able to get them some new furniture before, but we want to get them new cube walls as well. And right now that's around 15, and that will also come out of the Nettles money. But I've got around $98,000 in that Nettles right now, so even after I take a couple of these things out, we will still have a substantial amount left to be able to do some other projects in the other branches. Of course, Westminster had already gotten a new desk, thanks to the friends before. We are gonna get new carpet in Salem now. We don't own the building in Salem, but they're gonna come in and put carpet in. The county is gonna pay to put carpet in. That's already underway. I don't have a date for that yet, but they are gonna put new carpet in the Salem Library, which is desperately needed. And then we're not gonna get a new desk for Salem because they like the way theirs is configured, but we are gonna order a new countertop for it. And, get the rest of it kind of cleaned up and refinished a little bit so that it also looks nice and new. So we're gonna have, while we can't get new facilities, we are basically gonna have new, parts in just about all of the branches. We've ordered some new furniture for Walhalla. We've replaced a lot of the old uncomfortable wood chairs, with better vinyl chairs and stuff, so we may not be able to do anything about our physical spaces, but what's in them, we are trying to improve, and that was kind of the goal of Nel's money, that we could do things that would impact and show a lot of impact for the patrons, like new service areas and things like the desks, and then also that it would help out the staff a little bit too. So that's currently what we're working on, and I'll have hard numbers for you and a better report for you probably by our September meeting. We will be we'll be restoring our Saturday hours at least 9 to 1. We're not going to go 9 to 4 yet at Seneca. But we will, starting in August, be going back to 9 to 1 in Seneca. We've got 2 part-time that we were missing hired. They're back to full crew. Anna is our full-time person there is back from maternity leave, so we will be reestablishing at least 9 to 1 hours at Seneca starting in August. And then depending how everything goes, of course, with all these new variant stuff and uptick in cases, but our hope is to go back to something a little closer to our normal hours, get a little more of the evening hours and everything once school starts. So probably after Labor Day, if things haven't really gone off the rails, we'll go back to opening 2 to 5:30 on Sundays in Walhalla and staying open until 8. The Mondays and Tuesdays in Walhalla, and Monday through Thursday in Seneca, Monday until 8 in Westminster. Westminster Saturday is probably also starting, depending on their comfort level and everything, because they share a crew with Salem, also in September. And of course, all that could change if, the cases keep going up and we continue to have other things, that could change. That's our hope right now, is we'll definitely start the Saturdays for Seneca, get them back open again starting in August, and then hopefully get back to as close as we could be to what used to be our hours. We used to stay open until 9 on Mondays and Tuesdays in Walhalla. I can give you 5 years worth of numbers that say that's not worth it. Absolutely not worth it. So what we're looking at is, once we decide to go back to closer to normal hours, it'll probably be 8 o'clock Monday and Tuesday in Walhalla, and then 8 o'clock Monday through Thursday in Seneca, and then usually Salem stays open till 6 on Monday night, and Westminster stays open till 8 just on Monday night, and then they close at 6 the rest of the week. And and then, like I said, Saturday definitely in Seneca, have to kind of talk a little bit more with the staff to make sure their comfort level for Westminster. But the hope is that unless things change drastically on the national or state level, local level, by September, we'll be back to pretty close to what we were before hours-wise. If you've had a chance to look at the numbers that I sent out, of course, visits aren't what they have been in the past. They're certainly better than they were last year compared to this time. But the circulation, though, I think in part because we've been open again and people have been desperate to get stuff, our circulation, however, was actually a little better than maybe the year before that. And also, I think part of that is probably due to having instituted the automatic renewals, because that also contributes to your circulation. Every time an auto renews, that's another checkout, another renewal. So that has helped us some too, I think, a little bit. Just a couple other quick things. We are working with, or had a meeting with someone with Empower Oconee. This is something that the United Way is doing. And they want to partner with the library. The particular meeting that we had was dealing with helping with child literacy. And we told them about the kits that we've done, the literacy kits, the story time kits, that kind of thing, and they were very excited about that. And so we do hope to have future partnerships with them, not only in this, but in some other areas as well.
You want me to chime in here?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think Liz had talked to someone as well about.
Yes, I'm a part of Empower Oconee Youth. There's 3 parts to it. So I will pass out our placards that you all can keep that kind of explain what it is. In looking at the strategic plan, this fits in brilliantly with some of the ideas that Empower Oconee would like to do, not just with youth, which I'm a part of, but there's early childhood. Okay, there's early childhood, and there's strong communities as well. So I won't speak too much on it, but we can plug this in when our strategic plan comes in. There's several areas that this would work really well. Mentoring kids is something, I'm just going to throw this out because I just think this idea is brilliant. Because the Westminster Library, in reading your report, they're already doing some things. You can check out fishing rods, which I thought was interesting in Westminster. I thought that was super cool. So one of the things that Empower Oconee would like to do is to help the library become a community resource. And so not just to check books out, but possibly they could check out games or sports equipment. And they would pay for everything. They've got money to spend, so they would buy it all. And I just think that's a brilliant way to engage families in the community. So that's all I'll say for that now.
And I will mention too, just to kind of follow up on that, the Friends in that meeting last Thursday also gave us $2,500 to Leah Price, the Westminster manager, and she's going to start developing kits for adults, particularly senior adults, the kids mainly, especially doing with like memory assistance, Alzheimer's, that kind of thing, and they're going to have those kits. They're going to give $2,500 to. She's going to buy things like, some adult games and puzzles and things that help with like memory and that kind of stuff, and we'll have those kits to be able to check out as well. So in addition to the literacy kits and the story time kits, we'll also have kits for senior adults to assist with Alzheimer's, that caregivers can check them out for like their parents or something, or even a nursing home where somebody can check out several of them if they wanted to and use them for that. So she's developing those right now. I don't have anything like that I can show you yet, but she's actually developing those right now. She had come up with that idea for a possible ARPA grant, American Rescue Plan Act grant, but instead we've written a grant to the state library for the American Rescue Plan for new computer switches at the library. A lot of our computer hardware is 8-10 years old. It's functional, but it doesn't really do well anymore. And our IT department here has basically written me up a quote for all new switches at the library. So basically everything that comes, like these cables that come from the back of your computer and go into the router and go into the switches and then gets into the main trunk of the internet, they're going to replace all those switches, so they're up to date, they're faster, they're more secure. We don't have any problem with hacking and that kind of thing because the firmware and the infrastructure of them is a lot better. They're also going to, we've got an additional 5,300 something that is going to come out of state aid to replace our wireless equipment and our wireless antennas. So our wireless, our Wi-Fi signal at the library will improve vastly. It'll help out in our meeting rooms because right now when we have meetings and stuff, the coverage in the meeting room is kind of spotty. A lot of times we have a lot of people on doing heavy bandwidth stuff. It's harder to get on the Wi-Fi, so that all will be improved as well. So the ARPA grant to the state library was in the neighborhood of $27,000, and then coming out of state aid, which we got an increase in state aid this year, so additional 18 something and change. So we are at 225 per capita now on state aid. So we got about 164,000 in state aid this year. Of course, the bulk of that does go to books, but we can use that for some of these additional programs. So some of it immediately went to this quote that IT shot me for Wi-Fi equipment. So that is another thing that we'll get to improve. I'm sad to say I really haven't heard much lately about our parking lot in Walhalla, but I do know that they were going to have to go back. Now that they finally allowed us to cut in on Westview Street rather than on Chestnut, they were going to have to go back and do some additional engineering. And then I know the county's been busy repairing roads and a lot of things this summer, but I know, Cliff, you had a little bit of information on that.
Yes, I did a little bit of just talking to some people in the state government as well as some people in the city government, just in a very informal fashion about our proposal for doing the parking lot here. And one thing that they kind of brought up, and I know we've touched on it before, but I know at least the people that I talked to on the city level would like to us possibly explore this as an option would be using Westview Drive. Essentially, and you can see in this packet here, I printed out just a view here so you can see the library where it stands right now. The lot right here that the library owns across the street. Westview Drive, West South Broad Street, and South Chestnut here. Inside the packet, you'll see some pictures of just the way that essentially the street looks there, Westview Drive. And what they had talked about is essentially there's one encroachment off of Westview. There's a single house that does have a driveway that does use that as their primary means of ingress and egress. But that being said, we would have roughly 315 feet of frontage. There's actually about 407 on that street that the library owns there that we could do if they did a one-way street there, angled parking. And according to a contractor that I did speak with, if we did angled parking on a one-way street on Westview, we could fit, and this is rough, once again, this is all informal, roughly about 29 spaces. Currently, I counted up, I believe we have 30 in the parking lot there at the library. So that would more than, close to double our parking capacity, would allow for the staff to have a place to park as well as for overview, would prevent us from having to wait for engineering on the lot, and would save us the money of having to build the parking lot. I know the city had expressed, some desire to maybe partner with us on this in the future in doing a park or something that can be used for, events, things like that. And they really, and I'm of the inclination too. I just, I know that parking is important and it's something that we need at the library, but anything we can do to prevent another, beautiful part of the town turn into a parking lot, I would like to try and explore any options as possible. So what I'm asking, I know I can't do, a motion at this time or anything like this, but I'd like for us to talk about putting on the agenda to explore this in future meetings and talking with the highway department essentially and talking about doing a one-way street on Westview and looking into that. And that's at least what I was able to, just discover just through,
So how have you talked to the resident there? Do they have input?
I have not talked to the residents, but it would not prevent them from entering and exiting the home. What I did is when I calculated that 29 spaces, after talking with they have 103 feet of frontage there. They wouldn't have essentially any space that would be blocking their driveway. The only change that they would have is depending on what SDOT says, whether or not they want the road to essentially travel north on the road or travel south on the road. They would either have to turn to go down that to exit out of the house and come in at the top. It really doesn't, in my opinion, inconvenience them, to a great extent.
Sure.
More so than, having a parking lot with lights eventually there would. You know what I mean?
Right.
It would be a one-way?
That would be a one-way street. Westview would be a one-way street there.
Mm-hmm.
And, it would depend on what SDOT said, whether or not it's traveling, southbound or northbound, how we would angle the parking. I figured from the way these pictures are, and you can see right now the city of Walhalla collects its trash from the north side of the building, which is along Westview Street. And in talking with some people in the city, I think they would prefer if we did the parking on the south side of the street, which would be the side with the lot on it there.
Mm-hmm.
And that would allow essentially the access, the basement access to remain there, the trash to remain there. It wouldn't really cost us anything or change the function of the building. It would just possibly make it so the truck's coming in from the top versus coming in from the bottom, if that makes sense.
That does, and I love the idea of keeping that space not parking, because I really would love to have outdoor space for the library, outdoor classrooms, outdoor
Absolutely.
stuff.
And that would provide, I feel like, a solution to it. Now, all of this is, of course, up to SDOT on whether or not they approve it.
Sure.
But in talking with some people at the state level, they feel like that this would be something that they could approve relatively easily.
Now,
I'm not from Walhalla, but I would still be more comfortable if someone spoke to the one resident there.
Of course.
They made a one-way street in Westminster where I grew up because there was only a resident. And it is a terrible inconvenience to her now,
Yeah.
just because of where it's located. So even if I don't know, just having conversation regardless of what happens, I think is just respectful.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
My concern is, after being in Pendleton in the last couple of weeks, where they have all diagonal parking, no one's planning for these big trucks. And so you get a couple of those, or a Tahoe, or Suburban, or whatever you want to call it, you can't see. And God love that one neighbor, as you're saying, that has to pull out, and if their view's being blocked by those, but making parking spots definitely long enough to accommodate those trucks and still have the roadway so people could do it safely. And again, that would be part of the design.
50 foot is needed on a parking lot to essentially go backwards and be safe. This road, upon me measuring it roughly there, we should be fine when it comes to lines of sight there. But once again, SDOT looks into that whenever they're approving encroachments and approving one-way streets to make sure that if there is any existing encroachments on the property, that they are able to safely ingress and egress from their property there.
And I mean no harm, but they messed up in Seneca, and SCDOT did all that too.
Right,
Because you
right.
cannot see,
Yeah.
just exactly what you were saying. It is a big problem
That
downtown Seneca.
Townville's a mess.
Yeah,
Just down in front of the steakhouse here in Walhalla.
Yeah,
and it's very dangerous.
Like every time I turn out from Ramcat on the Fairplay, I just like hope and pray that when I know is out, I'm fine.
I have to be in the street before I can even turn.
Yeah. Luckily, though, Westview, I think, receives possibly 5 or 6 vehicles a day. It's a dead-end street on both ends. It doesn't lead anywhere. It's not one that, and it's only 400 feet long. Actually, Short Street in Walhalla, which was converted from a two-way street to a one-way street, is, I think, close to twice this length and has about triple the number of encroachments on it. And, so far, luckily, I'm not, I don't follow the traffic reports closely, but I can't recall of any wrecks or accidents or really issues that have came from that. But it's just an idea, I know that parking is important to the, employees there.
To explore.
And, it's just something that I figured I would talk with the board about, but I'd love to get on the agenda next time about possibly doing a motion to talk about that.
Okay, and that was all I had for the director's report.
I have a
Well, I have some
question.
things, to add to, go for it, Shelby.
This is for you, Blair. Going back to the free book giveaway, what books are being given away and how were they chosen?
I'm sorry?
What books are being given away and how were they chosen?
We've got a selection, if you're talking about the ones we're giving away tomorrow.
Yes.
We've got a selection of everything from the easies through, I believe, young adult, so easy, juvenile, which would be chapter books, and then young adult. And they were basically chosen the same way. They were ordered through our books. So they were basically chosen by Darcy the same way that she uses the books for the library. So they're established titles that, she would be getting for the library anyway. I mean, they were purchased in the same manner that we purchase all of our youth services books anyway.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to commend you on your report for Brenda. I didn't realize that the Bookmobile was reaching out to so many assisted living spaces. I love it.
We're trying to get some back that we've not reestablished with COVID yet. When we get to her August or September schedule, there's a couple of them that she hadn't been able to really go there yet, and we're gonna, now, new variant and everything else could mess that up, but we are trying to reestablish with, I know I'll get it wrong, Residences at Park Place, I think. I mean, she may have been going there a little bit as outreach, but I think she's gonna try to have a regular stop there again, and somewhere else. She is basically trying to reestablish. She will also be picking up the one daycare that we have a lot of success with over here at the Open Door Church in Walhalla. The learning center that they have there, she will be picking them up again in the fall. So we're gonna be picking up actually a couple more that we lost or were not able to service during COVID. provided nothing changes drastically, when we get again in September, she'll be picking up some of these and going back to pretty busy routes 4 days a week.
That was great. I just want to comment on that. I just thought that, I really liked that. And then the other part, food distribution, Quintel's write-up, the food distribution, something I'd like us to talk about next time. I'd actually like to have the Food Council come and do a presentation to us to somehow figure out how we can coordinate as part of outreach, getting equitable food resources within our county. So I think that fits in with our strategic plan as well in some areas. And so just I'm going to point that out. And then the last thing was, actually that tied in with, the seed packets. I thought that was a brilliant program too. Just wanted to comment on that. I really liked that program. I think the library is really reaching out in some creative ways, and just I'm really proud to be a part of it. Yeah.
Well, and the seed library right now is at Westminster, but the plan is to buy cabinets. She's got enough, and I say this is Leah Price. We've got enough in the donations that were given for this and this kind of thing that the plan is in the not too distant future to expand the seed library to all 4 branches, or at least 3 of them. I don't know if we'll be able to do Salem because of space, but we're going to expand it also to Westminster and then Seneca and Walhalla as well. So we have it in Westminster now. The idea is to expand it to Seneca and Walhalla in the not too distant future. Maybe get another round of donations on the seed packets, and then we got to buy some cabinets or whatever to put them in. But we will have seed library hopefully at least 3 or 4 of the branches, or all 4 maybe, before it's over with. So that one's going to be system wide, and then the adult kits will probably start out at Westminster, but also they will eventually be system wide, because she's going to be the one to kind of spearhead them, put them together. And then we'll expand those out once she and Leah Kelly, who's our acquisitions person, are able to buy enough of the materials. We'll start checking them out at all the branches. So we'll be doing the adult kits at all the branches maybe by fall, I hope. And then it's funny that you mentioned the things with Empower Oconee. We've got 2 cornhole sets that we bought 2 years ago for summer reading, and we're going to use them tomorrow. But once we're done with them, we're probably going to go ahead and catalog them and check out cornhole. There's no sense in them sitting downstairs. So we've got 2 very nice cornhole sets, the really nice polished woodwoods or whatever. Probably going to be starting to check those out pretty soon. We went ahead and put, the state library had given us these 20 MiFi units. We were sort of just checking those out informally before because we weren't sure if we were going to stick with the program or not. State library has renewed that for another year, so now those MiFis are actually in the catalog and can be checked out just like any other thing. Probably starting in the fall, once school starts, we'll be able to start going back with our telescopes and microscopes, which we usually have. The microscopes, particularly for teachers, we try not to just check those out to general public. We usually kind of keep those for the teachers, but the telescopes are popular. We haven't been doing those because of the cleaning protocols and COVID and everything, but again, provided things don't, massively change, we'll also start checking those out again once school starts. So yeah, we've got the fishing poles in Westminster, plus the seed library, plus the telescopes, and we're going to add probably at least the 2 pieces of equipment with the cornholes, and then, whatever else, if we could partner up with Empower Oconee, whatever else we can add, games, other stuff that we can check out. We're pretty much open, any of it, all of it.
And I think I homeschooled my son, and so there's a huge homeschool network in this county, in the upstate, actually. And so there's another resource thing, just talking about only teachers being able to check out academic equipment. We may want to rethink that in some way. Maybe a mom has to sign for it or something.
I think it's not just,
not just a
joke,
Sure.
public, but I think,
Sure.
homeschools and that kind of stuff. I mean, that's, like I said teachers, and I suppose I misspoke because she is planning on including that larger.
Right. I'm just thinking that's a
Try to
whole.
keep them for education rather
Sure.
than just for somebody to play with, let's say.
Right.
But
That's a whole network that we could reach out to and that would support us, because we use the library all the time. So just thinking that's another avenue. I did want to also, Darcy in here said, that we had Hispanic Outreach Group, Mara Perez Arellano, am I saying that right? Arellano. So we have the Hispanic Outreach Group, and she is back helping with the library. That's great. Yeah. She translated the reading logs and the calendars into Spanish. That's just, I didn't realize we had somebody to do that. That's another wonderful thing.
We are currently doing that. She did do a couple of pretty simple, I mean, her Spanish is a heck of a lot better than mine, but Darcy did do a couple of simple story times in Spanish during summer reading and virtual. She's done a couple of virtual ones. We will continue to do some of the virtual programming. Some of it has paid off well in big view numbers. Some of it, people are getting tired of virtual stuff. So, but we will keep that as a component, sort of an arrow in our quiver, if you will, of, stuff going forward. So, our production value has improved greatly. We were able, with some year-end money, to pick up some really nice equipment, some lighting, and a better microphone, that kind of stuff. So, if you've seen any of Darcy's little videos on YouTube, they are great.
Cute.
I look at what some of the other libraries are doing, and then I see her stuff, and it's just up there in what she's doing. So we will definitely keep that video component or the social media component as well. But we do have it kind of comes and goes because everybody's busy, and it depends on. Marab works, some of the other people that we do have, Janice Lovingood, our administrative assistant, has been working with a small group of them, started just with teens, and now she's working with their parents and that kind of thing. Of course, they all work and they all have their other things to do and everything, but she's had kind of a regular meeting with several of them. They just had a book club Wednesday. Thursday was the Friends meeting. They had a book club on Wednesday and got several of them together. So they are still meeting fairly regularly as well. And they are helping us out, as you mentioned, with some of the translation and things as well. So we are actively trying to reach out to them. Monica and I are both on the Health Disparities Committee of the Healthy Oconee Coalition. We've been talking about, and as well, we've been talking about, ways that we can reach out to Hispanic and African American communities. So, still working on that though. Still a long way to go on that. But we're working on it.
Awesome. Moving on to old business. The ad hoc committee to review the bylaws did meet and made edits to the bylaws, which was shared with everyone prior to the meeting. So where we basically stand is anything is open for discussion. If anyone has an opinion or changes they would like to discuss, then we will be sharing the bylaws with our county attorney for review. So no action today other than discussion. Anything we want to change prior to sending a final document for review with the county attorney.
Good job to those who worked on it.
Very
But I didn't see anything about making the committees a maybe instead of a shall be. Because I think that's where this whole conversation started, the standing committees.
Correct. Yes, it started, so as it remains now in the bylaws, there would be standing committees that we would reignite and appoint and bring back the 4 original standings. So there was a 5th that had been on the agenda at one point in time for capital projects, which was never written into the bylaws. So we did not add that back. That would be an ad hoc committee if needed. But the 4 were left as standing committees.
What was the rationale behind that?
Does anybody else want to?
Well,
Anyone on the committee can talk?
I was on the committee, and it probably came from me because I was pretty adamant about it myself. If you got to go through this manual quite a bit, and it says not to read it cover to cover, but I was able to go through a number of the pertinent sections, and it's almost like neglect is the wrong word, it's too strong, but if we don't meet and look at things like we could be talking about the parking lot in a committee, we need to be talking about the finances. We have more power entrusted with us than we're taking advantage of. And so I think after reading that, we thought, well, let's see if we can't follow what the state has given us as guidelines and try to reenact these committees again. So, yeah, so that's why you look like finance. We should be having financial reports at our meetings from our treasurer. The policy and personnel items, as we want to make changes. Liz, you were thinking that, talking about Empower Oconee might have been a policy change. That would have gone to a committee, I would suggest. So that's why, Shelby, it was more, let's not ignore them, let's get them motivated, active again. Did that answer your question, or
I mean, that answered the question.
you just don't agree with it?
I don't, but that's okay.
And that's fine.
What do you not agree with? I'm confused.
I'd just rather not discuss it, I just don't agree. That's all.
Okay.
Do we have any further discussion of any other points?
I do want to say, I thought it was a really well-conducted meeting. I thought we took each other's viewpoints into consideration. We had plenty of time to review it after we worked on it. Allison, you were the miracle keyboard person there, so thank you for that. That was incredible. So I just felt I feel real good about the product. And again, it all depends on what Mr. Root says about it, but I think we've tried to cross the Ts and dot the Is.
We definitely tightened a lot up. Yeah, we tightened a lot
Yeah.
of stuff up. We got rid of stuff that
That's right.
wasn't effective. We are now in alignment with the state. Yeah, I feel good about it.
Thought it looked very good.
Thanks, Cliff.
The next step with those will be to go to the county attorney, which Blair will help us do, for review at that level. Blair, did you have additional updates about the circulation desk and cubicle? And we covered that.
Pretty much just wanted to let you know, again, because you do, as you mentioned, you all do have financial oversight. Surely the way our system works here in Oconee County, the county passes the budget and that kind of thing, but particularly a lot of the, we do have this gift money right now and everything, and so, just to let you all know what was gonna happen. And then once I have hard numbers, I will send that out to you all, just so you have it. But these are gonna be on state contract, we are working, we didn't really have to work through our procurement department for the one in Seneca because it was a gift from the family. So, but this one, since we do have the Nettles money on deposit with the county, we are following all of the county procedures. We did follow county procedures in terms of Seneca, in terms of like insurance and all that kind of stuff. So, I think we do all the right stuff. But in this case, because we are spending money that is under, the county's deposit, so this is all on state contract, we're getting the best deals, all that kind of stuff, so, no real further update on that.
I do have, and this, once again, I understand the need for the new desk, but did you say it was 26,000 for the?
On the circulation
The
desk? Yes,
circulation
sir.
desk for Walhalla? That does seem a little on the higher side. I understand if there's a need for it and there's the gift money available, by all means, but it does seem, and I don't know circulation desk, I couldn't build one, I wouldn't know where to buy one or who to call to build one, but, 26,000 it's a decent amount of money. And, I understand that we've got 98,000 in the Nettles Fund, and that does take a relatively large chunk out of it.
Well, now keep in mind, take 10 off of that because the friends
Right.
are, contributing to the desk. I will say this, the one in Seneca, was around 18 by the time it was done. And of course, that was done last year, during COVID, during all this kind of stuff. This one is being done right now when, the supply chain is terrible and costs are a lot higher. Our procurement department has looked at it, it is on state contract, so that's basically half price. And this is a custom-made item. This is made by a cabinetry company in Oak City. There's a little place outside of Charlotte where this company that we're having make it does it. So it is a custom-made desk built into components, and then they come in and put it in and install it. So this is not just, something we get on Demco or whatever. The Friends basically funded the entirety of the Westminster desk. And while it's a good functional desk, it is one that's basically made prefab. And what we've gotten in Seneca and in Walhalla is a custom-made desk. So the expense for that is gonna be a little bit more. And the desk in Walhalla honestly is about 2/3 the size of this desk, so when you're talking custom-made cabinetry with all the shelves and other things that we want in it for the staff and for the appearance for the public, yeah, it's pricey, but, you know, like I said, with it being on state contract and everything, I mean, we're getting the best deal. We could go with a much smaller desk, a much smaller footprint perhaps, but to get essentially about what we have now in a new, nice configuration, that's where we are.
How long has that desk been in the library? The one that's there now?
Walhalla Branch was built in 1979.
So that desk is that old, so that's a pretty,
It
that's,
is not, where it stands now was not where it was.
But it's the same desk,
If
I
you remember the
mean.
old way that it was in Walhalla, I
Yeah.
don't know if you've been to Walhalla very much, but it used to sit out in the center of the building, you know, the center of the floor between the stacks and the wall. And we did move it, so that it was more functional for the staff and would protect some of the staff areas. That was also a security thing, that was also a functional thing, because we'd have people just wandering back into the office suite or wandering upstairs to the youth services mezzanine. So having the desk put there by the front office suite and the stairwell kind of increased security as well. But when they took that apart to move it, there's notations inside that it's, you know, 79 dash blah blah, whatever, because that was the component.
well, my point is, it's over 40 years old, so that's a pretty good investment. 26,000 sounds a lot up front, but it's not like the library changes desks every year.
And given the likelihood of new facilities, like new buildings, anytime soon, you know, hopefully these will serve us well for, I don't know about 40 years, but.
At least 25, yeah.
these-
Or until we get a new
We hope
facility.
particularly with custom-built, heavy-duty, you know, whatever, if you've seen the one in Seneca, it's gonna be very similar. In fact, I think we're even gonna have the same colors. I think the staff at Walhalla decided on the same Mangalore, I believe is the name of the brown wood, and then soapstone or something like that is the name of the countertop. But anyway, they decided on pretty much the same surfaces for, the same colors for the surfaces for the Walhalla one as well. So it'll actually match the desk in Seneca.
Is there a particular reason for doing it this year?
Just the availability of the money and the fact that, you know, we could, take advantage. I mean, we did the one in Seneca basically because of, you know, when Mr. Bose passed away and all that kind of stuff. It was definitely a good time to do it. And, just, you know, Walhalla has one, or Seneca has one, Westminster has one. It was just a chance to go ahead and take that money and, you know, spread it out among all of our branches, because like I said, Salem is getting new carpet. They're not gonna get a new desk, but they're gonna get a refinished desk. So the footprint of the desk will be the same, but they're getting a new desk. So just the opportunity to take this and, you know, kind of remake a space in all of the branches to give us a new update, give the public something new to see. This is where they interact with us every day that we're open. So this was just an opportunity to, you know, make all of our branches kind of look nicer and newer to a point at the same time. So that's, I mean, no rush necessarily, but yeah, that's why we followed the Seneca one right up with working on this one in Walhalla, because, you know, it's something that the staff will love and be more functional and work for them. It's something that the public will see every day and will be a lot nicer looking and a lot nicer. I mean, that's our front door, basically. at
And
all of
public
our
appeal
branches.
is important.
Is that desk. So, you know, if we can't have new spaces, at least we can have updated, renovated spaces, updated, you know, looking furniture, make all of our areas, I mean, the study room in Seneca, also came out of the Nettles money, so, you know, all of that together giving us new spaces in Seneca and Walhalla for the smaller study rooms and a new look in all of our branches.
Would the parking lot at Seneca be considered part of the need, or is that on the radar at all? The painting of the lines at least?
They had gotten to the point of accepting bids on that, and then here's COVID. The last time I talked to Mr. Reed, Kyle Reed is the head of roads and bridges for the county. Last time I talked to him, he had some additional bids coming in for that. So there is a plan in place to do the parking lot, resurface, reseal, not resurface, but reseal and restripe the parking lot in Seneca.
Okay.
I don't know exactly when that's gonna happen. It could be this fall, once they get done with some of these big road projects they're working on this summer. But yeah, there is a plan in place to reseal and restripe in Seneca.
Okay.
That's good, it needs it. Yeah. What is so the property next to the Seneca Library is owned by the county? Or what is that big lot next to the Seneca Library? Who owns
All
that?
right, the entire block, basically, the Seneca Library, to my understanding, the reason it was put where it is, where it kind of sits on a corner of that lot, is because there was intention of coming back and building a community center and all this stuff along with it. And of course, that never happened. So the front part of the lot, like if you were to go out back of the Seneca Library, and there's like a little ridge that goes up, like a little hill, the front part of the lot basically does belong to the county. So the library sits on, like if I'm looking at it straight, the library does sit kind of here on the left-hand side of it, and the right-hand side of it, that also is all county, so going down to the road. And then the back half of the property all belongs to the city of Seneca.
Okay.
So that entire huge block is combination county and city. The county does maintain it all. So our guy, when he mows the entire city block.
Are there plans to do anything with that at all?
Every time we've talked new library, it's where are we gonna put it on that? The last time we talked new library before 2014, it was get the city to give us the rest of that portion of the lot, build the building over kind of to the side, and either let somebody else use the existing library or turn that into additional parking. I mean, they don't have any plans to use it that I know of. They've let us use it for like outside events and stuff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think they've kind of always held it with the idea that maybe we'd get a new library, but, you know, there's a lot of components and a lot of parts that have to come together for that, unfortunately. So, yeah, but that front half does all belong to the county. And then basically the entire back half of that lot is city of Seneca. Right.
Thanks.
To my knowledge, they don't have any plans for it.
On to the strategic plan. So this was added, we had had a discussion, the strategic plan technically was on the books till 2020, and then we had COVID and a multitude of other things. So we asked the staff to give us a report card, if you will, and an update of where things stand, and then their professional advice of whether we needed to undertake an entirely new strategic planning process, or whether we should work through the components that we weren't able to do in that 18-month time period and kind of catch this one up first and then push a new strategic plan a little further out. So I hope everyone had a chance to review. In blue are all of the notes from the staff updating us on each priority, if it has been reached or if it had limitations and what those limitations were, if there are limitations or society's limitations happening at a time. So we can discuss how we want to move forward with this strategic planning process with your advice as well, Blair. If you have an opinion the staff would like to share, we'd love to hear that first too.
Well, you know, at the board's request, we went through and pretty much I went goal by goal almost within the larger priorities. And we sort of identified those things which we felt we had been able to do, some of the ones that we knew would still need to be ongoing. I think the consensus was that we have reached certain milestones on these, but a lot of them really are ongoing because either there's still an active thing we're doing like Hispanic outreach and like some of this community outreach and things. Of course, that just needs to continue. Now that'll be up to you all and us, I guess, if that needs to be stated in a plan or if that's just what we do now from now on. But you know, we kind of feel like for the most part that if I had to give it a number, I'd say we're 50% through this, honestly. Just because there were limitations in terms of COVID, not being able to get out and do things in the community. And also then because other agencies that we would rely on for these partnerships were similarly either, you know, powered down or locked down, you know, a lot of those things couldn't happen. The bulk of this 2018 to 2020 plan was looking outside of the library, establishing those community partnerships or going and finding new ways to provide information for people about their community. And so, a lot of it we were able to do by, basically a lot of the outreach that we have done already. Some of the things that we did put up, bulletin boards and other things that we've done at the branches to put out more information. Some of them are ongoing. We've worked with Nivea and talked about, where we can put an information center there in Walhalla. And then some of them we kind of had to put on pause. So, if you wanted to go through each one of them, some of the internal things that we had wanted to do are in process, looking good. We have gone through and revamped all that. Now, we have not changed any of the job descriptions because that would need to involve our HR department here in the county. But we have gone through and, revamped a lot of the job descriptions, made them make more sense, and then found a way and I think you noticed it in my report and also Sue Anderson's report about going through and being able to inform our evaluations. Now, we have a fairly simple form that comes from the county. We can't change that, but we can change how we find the information that we want to go into that form. And that's what this whole staff evaluation, EPMS thing, gave us. And so we did use that this year to inform our staff evaluations, and we will use that going forward. That is also helping us write new job descriptions for new things that we're going to try, and I'll bring that up in a moment. And then, as far as the other internal things, we do have some limitations. Like we've talked about having an intranet for a long time, but of course that involves IT and security, and so that's not something that we can necessarily do. We did institute Slack, but there were some issues with that concerning the network and network security, so we kind of use it informally, but we don't, it's not really part of everyone's, on their computer and everything, because we were advised not to install it on every computer and that kind of thing. So there's just some things that internally we still want to get done, and then externally, that's an ongoing process. A lot of that, partnerships and that kind of thing still need work, still need us to be, we're kind of maybe in the middle of it. We haven't really achieved that end goal of a set partnership. And then new stuff comes up like the Empower Oconee. So I think that's just an ongoing thing. Anything in here that was about us reaching out, anything about establishing, new partnerships or that kind of thing, that's just an ongoing process. And that needs to probably be part of anything that we do in the future as well. We can come up with some new aspirations for, better programs or different staff initiatives, but a lot of this stuff in here would just need to carry over to a new plan if that's your decision.
When we did this plan, we did focus groups and we had some listening sessions and we visited with a lot of different people doing this plan. And what struck me is that, and I didn't put a quantitative, but you said about 50% you thought had been reached. I think that's excellent given what we've been through in this country. And I'm wondering if trying to do an additional plan at this point would be somewhat, almost want to say premature because of what we're seeing happen again as COVID is coming back. I think I'm feeling like let's finish this out and try to get this other 50% while incorporating some of these new ideas. But I don't see spending a lot of time and energy writing a new plan. I think that would maybe be foolhardy right now, just my opinion.
And I think when we discussed it first, that was a consensus at that point too, that we didn't need to start inventing the new wheel because it got interrupted in 2019. And so there was over 12 months, it was like a year and a half lost. So I agree with what you're saying.
So, and I think we sort of touched on this at the last meeting. Can we just put a 2022 date on this plan and reassess? Because quite honestly, if you're supposed to put this together in the next couple of months, you're right, they're labor intensive, to do it the right way. And I almost would suggest 3 years seems too short. You almost want to go for a 5-year plan and have little steps each year. But I'd make a motion that if we want to extend this one till 2022, I'd be happy to approve that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Who was the second? Sorry.
Cliff. I think that's an excellent idea.
A lot to work with here.
Yes. And
Well,
Blair,
can I ask a question? I know it wasn't call for question, but I had a question. Some of these things have gone as far as they can. Some of them have been completed, blah, blah, blah. So if we're gonna extend it, shouldn't we look at cleaning it up first?
Yeah, I think it's a working document for sure. So Blair, I think if you can continuously update it and include this in our packet moving forward, just as y'all are working through things with the updates, I would like us to go back to it more frequently to see what projects are associated with it, what projects are not, that we can creatively help find new ways to work towards the goals. So in extending it, I think if we could request that it be included in our packet with updated information from you as we have meetings, that would be helpful to me.
That sounds great.
Good idea.
Just a suggestion, but would we want to have maybe an ad hoc committee of maybe 2 or 3 board members that can assist the staff with that, or not? I mean, I'm wondering.
Is that,
I would think if the staff needs assistance with the updating, then come to us and ask.
Okay.
okay.
That's right.
And I know there's a motion on the floor. My apologies.
I see the motion is carried.
Yeah, yeah, it passed already.
Thank you. On to new business. Blair handed us all an organizational chart. I think he has an update on it. That's about it.
Okay, the major change to this, in our discussions, in our review of a lot of those, job functions, job descriptions, that kind of thing. And we've given the current makeup of our personnel and also the changes that have come with a lot of the automation, we kind of have decided that we don't need a true technical services librarian anymore. We don't need that supervisory position. Right now, our cataloger pretty much is able to function, not only doing all of our, copy cataloging and things, but even doing a lot of the original cataloging. I mean, she is not a degreed librarian, but she has, gotten a lot of training on it. Basically, we're to the point with the system that we have, with the automation that we have, with combination of cataloger, who's Bethany on here, and then our acquisitions coordinator, and the way they work together in ordering the books or getting the managers to order the books, bringing in the books, cataloging the books, all that kind of thing. We don't need a librarian position to supervise that anymore. So what we're gonna do is convert that, and we do have a listing out right now. As you know, Michael, our last technical services librarian, who we had started calling a technology services librarian, we sort of had a halfway point, if you will, of making some changes to this. But he still did supervise technical services and that kind of thing. When he left us, we decided to take our time with this position, and right now we do currently have a listing out there for what we're calling media and electronic services. This is somebody that's gonna take over the ordering of all of our ebooks. This is someone that's gonna take over managing all of our electronic databases, because as you all know, we've added a lot and did add a lot during COVID time. So we added, scholastic stuff like BookFlix and this kind of stuff. So they'll oversee all of our electronic resources. They'll be liaison with Discus. They will order the materials for Cloud Library, and they will also handle our social media presence, because, that's been split among several staff, like Darcy, our youth services librarian, Bethany, who's our cataloger, but has also kind of taken over a lot of this and done it from Walhalla, so everything was kind of central, and she and Darcy could work together. But we're right now advertising a position for somebody that will assist us with our media, a lot of our virtual stuff like video production, that kind of stuff, and also all of our electronic resources. They will also be the one who will liaison with a lot of our vendors, like our software vendors for our TLC and the Library Corporation, which does the stuff that controls all of our check-in, check-out, all that kind of stuff, what we call an ILS, or Integrated Library System. They'll liaise with them as well. So we're looking for somebody to basically do our electronic resources and also assist us with social media presence and all of our electronic media and production. So that listing is currently out there right now. We are looking to fill that position. So what we want to do is just basically change the org chart so that collection management instead of collection development becomes kind of its own thing. And those two ladies will answer to the director, and then we will convert that one position to media and electronic services librarian, and that person will also answer to the director. That will be a librarian position that will require the master's in library science and will be at the pay of the librarian position. And that's, we wanted to keep that. We didn't want to lose that with the county and with the state library. We didn't want to lose a librarian position. So that's why we kept the requirements for a master's in library or information science, and why we, kept it at that pay band. But that person will take over some things that really were necessary, that some of the staff was kind of doing part-time, and it was really a burden on them to try to do the regular job, man the desk, and do that job. So since our collection management, as we're calling it now, is running so well, we want to rethink that technical services position into this media and electronic services position. And like I said, we've already checked it out with HR, and we have a listing out there for that currently. So we just want to make that formal change in the org chart.
So,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, how do we advertise for those positions?
That is, well, actually, the county has been doing a better job of that. They're on Indeed now, which is nice. But also, we send that out to State Library, South Carolina Library Association, Georgia Library Association, and somebody else. But anyway, it goes out to basically all of the library, like where most of our Georgia graduates and Georgia and South Carolina librarians will be looking for jobs. And it also goes out to Indeed. And it's on the county web. I mean, the listing is on the county website. We just link to it so people can apply through the county website. They actually go through HR to apply, but the HR website is also linked directly to Indeed, which is one of the major, employment services out there on the web. And then we do send them out to all the professional, like we sent it to SCLA, we sent it to South Carolina Library, the State Library, and also Georgia Library System.
Thank you.
My question was different. Is Seneca the busiest branch? And I'll tell you, I'm not going to, let me clarify why I'm asking.
Right.
I'm just looking at the positions, and they have more positions than the Walhalla branch.
Seneca is the busiest branch, both by visits and circulation. They were pre-COVID. I would say probably because of more limited hours and all, they and Walhalla are kind of more even right now. But even if you'll look at the May statistics, if you go to the, and I know our visits were down a little bit, but of course compared to COVID year, they were up a lot. But they're down maybe compared to like 2019, 2018. But out of that, and I don't have it broken down by branch here for you all, but if we break it out by branch, the biggest percentage of both circulation and visits will still be Seneca.
Okay.
Yeah. And what we have done in the past, and if we could get some new positions, I wouldn't complain about it. But what we've done in the past, I know it looks like, well, then Walhalla only has a small amount of circulation people, but for those of you who don't know, a lot of the backroom staff also does time on the service desk. So a lot of the backroom staff in our Walhalla branch does fill in. So I know it looks like Walhalla only has, one full-time and then he's part-time, but also full-time staff, branch services like Sue, for instance, youth services on occasion, the collection management folks, if necessary, Janice, they all also fill in. They do their nights and weekends, and they do their time on the circulation desk. So Walhalla, they utilize a lot of the full-time, non-circulation staff to do some circulation duties. And then all the ones in Seneca are strictly circulation. They have some system-wide duties. They help us out with various things like interlibrary loan and that kind of stuff. But for the most part, Seneca is strictly, public service staff, whereas the ones at Walhalla, they do their backroom work in technical services or collection management now or whatever, and then they also serve at least a little time during the week on the service desk.
Okay.
Do you have any further discussion? You need us to motion to accept this new proposed. correct?
Probably for a change of this magnitude, a vote would be good.
I make a motion.
Second.
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Blair, we have approved the change to the org chart as presented. Okay, a change in policy concerning holidays that fall on a weekend day, like July 4th.
Well, yeah, and I want to explain that. The way the current policy is in the policy manual, Memorial Day and Labor Day, since they're always a set on a Monday, weekend, whatever, it is in the policy that we do close the weekend before and take the Monday also. There are some of these holidays, though, that are not set on the whatever Monday, like the federal policy says, President's Day and Martin Luther King Day and all this, they're always gonna be on that Monday, so no problem. But your holidays, like this year, Christmas is on a Saturday. Now, the county, the way they have it set up and the way the library policy is, we always get the day of, the day before Christmas Eve, and we get the day after. So this year, we're taking Friday through Tuesday. They will give us, so we take the weekend, that's part of policy. But then things, as you mentioned, like July 4th, and the following week after Christmas this year is a Saturday. So the county will take the following Monday as the holiday. And I've always had to come to you all in the past each time and try to remember, okay, can we, have Saturday off too? Because the county doesn't care. They're not open on the weekend, but we are. So we don't want the staff to actually have to work January 1st, which is the real day, just to get their holiday off on Monday. So, rather than me having to come and ask you each time we get to July 4th, or we get to New Year's, or we get to, one of these that doesn't automatically fall on a Monday, you all would just say, hey, look, if it falls on a weekend day, you get the weekend day and you get the official county holiday, is what you all would say.
Do you pay for both days then?
No.
You only
The
pay
staff,
for,
the staff gets paid for that holiday. They get the paid day off, but it's just that we wouldn't have to be open and make somebody work. Like, if July 4th falls on a Sunday like it did this year, we're not open on Sundays in the summer, or a Saturday like it did the year before, then, they would have to work on the 4th and then take the county's holiday off on the 3rd or the 6th, wherever they took it. So all we're saying is that we would have the ability to close and not make those folks work on an actual holiday.
so it's cost neutral.
When the county takes the holiday on another day. And we've done that in the past for them, but I've just come to you each time and said, hey, can I do this? And of course, it's a rubber stamp vote. And I guess I'm just saying that if we have an instance where we know that this is gonna fall on a weekend, instead of me having to come to you each time, we just establish the policy covers that.
Yep.
I move to accept that.
Do we
I
have
will
a second?
second.
Awesome. All in favor, please say aye.
One second.
Any opposed?
Cliff,
Okay?
Okay. Accepted for the policy as described, Blair. We now have on the agenda an executive session. Do we have a motion to go to executive session?
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Perfect. We will now go to executive session. Blair, if you don't mind cutting our technology off.